Hey guys, and welcome to Will Squared Sports Podcast, where Will and I kind of talk about sports and we talk about anything else. Although, like I said previously, we haven't really talked about anything else but sports because there's just a lot to talk about. And so today, we're just going to be talking about college football. Tomorrow we'll upload another episode for just NFL. And then maybe on Thursday morning before everyone heads out to Thanksgiving dinner, or even Friday, we'll kind of touch on the other sports, baseball, basketball, and soccer. Right?
And
there's,
soccer, of course. Yeah.
There's UCL
A lot
is
going
on this weekend. City are just not playing up to their par. So there's a lot to talk about that. But we'll talk about that another day. But today, we're just going to focus on college football. And this past weekend was just insane. There were so many score lines that were just unbelievable. And so I wanted to kind of touch base with that. And, I'll let you get going.
Yeah. Where do we start? You want to start on Bama?
We can start with our favorite teams. Yeah.
Okay. I did not watch Bama play. I had a Friendsgiving with some friends. But this guy texted me around halftime, and he said they're playing like crap or something. I couldn't believe it. So I went to go check. It was 24-3.
Yes.
And I was like, I texted him saying, am I seeing this right? 24-3. Is this actually right?
That is correct.
Milroe had 100 yards, like no running game at all. This is not an excuse, but did you see all the bad calls that were in that game?
No.
Ryan Williams caught a touchdown in the fourth quarter to give him some momentum, but they called him as an ineligible receiver because he was not. I don't know. It was a bad call. Like how he explained it was like he was not backed up in the.
Oh, so it was probably a legal formation, not a.
He was the top man though. There was no legal formation. He was the top man. There were two guys off of him behind.
Yeah.
That
was the controversial call that they were really harping on.
It's not an excuse. Like Bama played horrible, but I mean,
and again, this whole year, Bama has just been Jekyll and Hyde. They had those really good games against Georgia, but then they come and they mess up against Vanderbilt, against Tennessee. So, there's the three losses were more them not playing up to their par. So I'm not going to take anything away from Vanderbilt, Tennessee, or Oklahoma, right? Mm-hmm. Because you have to play, right? You have to play. You have to win. You got to do everything you can. But I think Bama was just self-inflicting wounds and mistakes that just led to a total collapse in this past game. We had it. We had it.
Surely out.
We were set to be in the top 5 if we would have won.
They would have won.
But now they're 15th.
They're probably going to be out.
What are they? The top 3 loss team in the nation, probably, which is still 15th-ish or so.
They're probably done.
I wouldn't. Yeah, no. Yeah, there's no way they come back from this year.
Let's turn to a more happy note. Ohio State destroyed Indiana.
Yes.
As we all said.
We all kind of expected that to happen.
They can finally shut these Indiana fans up that I've been seeing all over social media, acting like they're anything. Ohio State humbled them. Let's start with the bowl games now.
Okay, so...
Because, last week compared to this week was everything changed.
Yeah.
Everything changed. The Big Ten is more simple, but the rest of them are a little crazier. So the first conference we're going to be talking about is the SEC.
Yep.
So this past week, before the games happened this past weekend, it was very simple. It's going to be Texas, A&M, and Texas. That winner, that's this week, against Alabama. But since Alabama lost, their spot is not taken up by Georgia. So Georgia is now in. Georgia is in the game. They'll be playing in 2 weeks, and they're going to face the winner of Texas and Texas A&M. That's this Saturday.
This Saturday, yeah.
It's very simple. So I think that Georgia's going to beat like Texas or
Texas A&M.
A&M. So they're going to be top 4. How?
Okay.
This crazy season for Georgia, they're still going to be top 4.
Potentially,
in the
yeah.
playoff.
Potentially. I mean, that's the way I would see it too, right?
Yeah.
I think Georgia,
if
they play their
SEC.
best, if they play even your average game, I think they beat anybody else in the SEC. But at the same time, they really,
Carson Beck. No, it's just Carson Beck. You can say it. It's just Carson Beck.
They've just been struggling here and there.
Offensively, yes.
So, and defensively, they're not the same team they were
definitely not.
a couple of years ago and even last year. But I still think that they have the firepower and the defensive play to win the SEC. Yeah.
They have the coaching. They have the players. They got a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Our next one. Our second team, Miami. So the ACC. This one's also kind of simple. SMU is already in.
Yes.
Okay. Miami has to beat Syracuse this weekend. If Miami win, they are in against SMU.
Yep.
If Miami lose, it's Clemson, regardless of what their game is.
Yeah, whatever happens over there. Yeah.
Because they play an SEC team. So it doesn't matter for the standings. So there's a good chance for Miami. They got to be like Syracuse.
Yeah, I think they should beat Syracuse. Although, like I think we've been talking about this whole season, they've been kind of just winning,
slowly,
coming back. A lot of the games they had to come back from a couple, 2 to 3 score games, and they turned it around and they won in the fourth quarter. This past weekend was a good game. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they should be able to beat Syracuse, and then SMU is waiting. Which who would have thought SMU would be making it out to the ACC championship game?
They did their job. They won their conference games. They beat Pitt when they were ranked, so they have a ranked win, so they deserve to be there.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean,
it's been a good season for them.
I don't want to take anything away from SMU, but I'm thinking that if Miami gets past Syracuse, they should be able to win at SMU, and then be one of the top 4 teams in the nation with the first week bye, right?
Yeah.
All
right.
Yeah.
Up next, the Big Ten. Big Ten is a little more complicated, but not too complicated.
Okay.
Oregon is in.
Okay.
We knew this since last month. They didn't lose anyone. They only really faced Ohio State. Not much else. Next comes the tiebreakers. It goes Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana. So you just do that. Ohio State is versus Michigan this Saturday. So they win, they're in. If they somehow lose to this year's Michigan and Penn State beats Maryland, which they will.
Which it should be, yeah.
It'll be Penn State. If Ohio State and Penn State lose, it'll be Indiana. If all 3 lose somehow, then it's back to Ohio State.
Okay. Yeah.
So it should be a rematch of Oregon-Ohio State, which I'm hoping, again, I hope Ohio State wins by 30 in that game. God.
Yeah.
That's the Big Ten, okay?
Okay.
Before we get to the craziest one, a little question for you. So the 5th best conference is called the AAC.
Yeah.
Right, so there we have Tulane against Army, no matter what happens this weekend. Whoever wins, do you think they could be in the playoff? They're both around like the late teens mark.
Well, I think Army just lost their first game, right?
Yes.
But it was against
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, right?
So
which is an independent.
Yes.
Okay, so
and they're ranked 6. So
and they're ranked, so
an upset. Right?
No.
Yeah.
But I don't. That was the first big team that Army has played this year.
Yes.
If they, obviously they're playing Tulane, so whoever wins there, I think is just part of the playoffs. They're not the top 4, right? The top 4 are reserved for the big conferences,
top 4 conference
right?
Winners, yeah.
So Army should win that game.
No, it's gonna be Tulane.
You think
Tulane?
Tulane? It's going to be an interesting game because Army has been playing really well up to the point where they started playing a ranked team in Notre Dame. And Tulane, are they ranked also?
Yeah.
Where are they ranked at?
Like 17-ish, 16.
Okay, so it should be
20.
It should be a good game.
Yeah.
Is it this weekend?
No, it was in 3 weeks actually.
In 3 weeks, okay.
Because Army has one more game, and then Army Navy. So Army
Navy, of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now the craziest one because of what happened this past weekend. Kansas, what is your problem, man? They were 3-6 and they beat the top 2 teams in that conference. And screwed it up.
Yeah.
There's still 8 teams that can make it. Realistically, there are still 8 teams that could be first place.
And that's the Big 12.
Or top 2, yes, the Big 12. But the top 4 have the higher odds. So as of right now, one is Arizona State. They face Arizona this weekend. They are 8-point favorites. So
they're home then?
They are home.
Okay.
BYU is second with the same record, but they lost to Arizona State this past weekend.
Yes, and that was, before you keep going, that was one of my bets.
Yes, that's
and I really thought BYU was going to win that one.
It was 21-0 by.
It was crazy.
Almost halftime.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like this past weekend, the score lines were just insane. Okay, go ahead. Yeah,
they almost came back.
Yeah, they did. Almost
only lost by 5, but
still, yeah, it messed up
before
my whole.
Halftime, it was 21.
Hold up, they messed up my whole betting. But go ahead.
So BYU is now second in that. Third is a heartbreaking one for me, Colorado. If they would have beaten Kansas, they would have been in first place.
Yep.
Nothing. Just win this weekend and you're in.
Yeah.
But they got humbled. They got humbled. So now they're in third place in that whole conference. Four's a little weirder. It's Iowa State. They have a better record than Colorado, but I think they're lower in the conference.
Yeah.
Okay. So if all 4 of them win, it's Iowa State against Arizona State. Okay. I don't know why. I'm sure it's just like tiebreakers with like conference games.
Yeah, it's in the championship, in the Big 12 championship. Okay.
If all 4 win this weekend. If Iowa loses and the rest win, then it's a rematch of Arizona State and BYU. The only shot that Colorado has is 2. One, if Arizona State and BYU lose, Colorado and Iowa State win, then they face each other. Or if like 5 different teams win, and there'll be more ahead in the rankings. But that's one of the 8 teams that I said could still win it.
Yeah.
So that's really it. Who owns the tiebreaker? Arizona State. So if they lose, it'll be BYU and Iowa.
Yeah.
So Colorado has like no help at all. They need help to
get it.
To get it.
And so then the top 4 for the championship, right? For the college football. So who are the 4 conferences that automatically get bid in the 1, 2, 3, 4?
I assume it's the SEC, ACC, Big 10, and probably Big 12. It could be the AAC. It could be Boise State, which I forgot.
Yeah, Boise State. Yeah. So I think they're in the Mountain. What is the name of that conference?
Oh, Mountain West. Yeah.
Mountain West. And so, but because actually the last week they were top 4, Boise State.
It refreshes in 1 hour.
Yeah, so we can take a look at that afterwards. But it's an interesting last weekend of football, because also we didn't really touch on this. We can touch on this really quickly. The Iron Bowl. I know, but it's always nice to watch Bama and.
Okay, now some questions for you about the playoff seedings.
Okay.
What do you think the committee will give a higher rank to? Alabama, who has 3 losses but is obviously SEC team. They had a tough schedule. They beat ranked opponents. Or Indiana, that has 1 loss. They beat who they were supposed to. They got smacked around by Ohio State.
No, I think Indiana gets a higher ranking.
Yeah, me too. Like 3 loss. SEC team will probably not get in.
No. A 3-loss team is not getting in. No.
So Bama is.
Yeah, I think Bama is out. this year. I think they're out. I think they really need to look inward and try to figure what happened. Why wasn't the team ready to play against some of these other teams like Vanderbilt? Vanderbilt just like tore them up right off the bat. They took off on them.
They caught them lacking. Yeah.
Same with Oklahoma, right? 24-3 or 24-3. That's unacceptable for Alabama, right?
Yeah.
I really think the coach needs to be looked at. He needs to take accountability for the way his team has performed. He definitely needs to come out and, try to figure out what went wrong so that next year it doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, like Milroe's going to be gone, so you have a new quarterback.
Yeah, but again, Milroe, he was
it's going to be like a whole different team.
Yeah, I mean, Milroe, yeah, you're right. He's going to be gone next year. But at the same time, are we really going to miss him? He's had an up and down season. There's been a couple of games where he's fumbled more than 2 times. There's been a couple of games where he's thrown more than 2 interceptions. In fact, against Oklahoma, he threw 3 INTs. Yeah. So is he a good quarterback? I think he's a good quarterback. I don't know why he hasn't played up to his capabilities.
Yeah, we're not going to know either.
And then the other question is, will an NFL team take a risk on him?
Yes. In the first round, I would hope not.
Yeah.
I would really hope not. Unless you have a team with a old quarterback who's still a good offensive team, like the Rams.
Yeah, but why would they take him in the first round anyway?
No, good teams, I mean.
Okay.
Late picks.
Yeah, late picks.
Like 20 to 30.
Sure.
Where taking a quarterback is a project. And Milroe's going to be a project.
Yeah.
He should not be a day one starter.
No, I don't think so.
Under no circumstance should Milroe be a day one starter for the league next year.
So, yeah, that's with Milroe. So,
yeah.
I think Bama needs to do a lot of soul searching and try to figure out how they can turn this around for next year.
It was the first year without Saban in like 15 years.
Yeah.
This was going to be a tough year regardless. I mean, when you lose the greatest college coach of all time, it's going to leave a mark, especially for the first year. He is a good coach. He's normally good at developing quarterbacks, so that's why I was a little worried about Milroe this year. But for the future, let's see what kind of quarterback they could bring, because Alabama does not have a consistent quarterback recruiting process.
No,
Jalen
they don't.
Hurts was a runner. Then you got Tua, who's a passer, but a little more mobile. Mac Jones was a freaking stick. Bryce Young could move around everywhere, and now here's Milroe.
Yeah, Milroe is sort of similar to Bryce Young anyway. But yeah, we'll see what comes up next year.
Yeah, so that's our last opinion on Bama. If by some miracle they're actually in the playoff, we'll be talking about how this playoff is corrupt.
Well,
more than giving Bama credit.
Well, okay, so given the fact that this past weekend there were so many upsets and so many score lines that were like, what the heck? Mm-hmm. You just never know.
Yes.
Bama might win their Iron Bowl, and now you have other teams that are starting to lose for no apparent reason.
Okay. So who's in the top 12 right now, we're saying? Oregon, if they win or lose,
yeah, they're still
the
staying.
Big Ten, they're in. Ohio State, win or lose, they're still in.
Yeah.
Texas, win or lose, they're still in. Penn State, in. Georgia, in. Notre Dame, in. Tennessee, in. Miami, in. SMU, probably in. Probably. They'll be 11-2, a 2-loss team in the top 12. Depends if they lose to Miami.
Yeah.
And how they lose.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because if SMU does lose to Miami, you never know. They might drop out because they haven't really played a hard schedule, and maybe just maybe Bama sneaks in. Who knows?
Yeah, because they're at 13 right now, but
they're at 13. So they're one spot away from being in the top 12.
That's just the polls, though. We'll wait for the playoff.
Yeah, the playoff picture in an hour.
But as of right now, I don't see a chance.
Yeah.
But okay, just a quick championship prediction.
What do you mean? Like overall, who wins?
Yes.
Who wins this year?
The championship and who wins. Yeah.
Wow.
After about like 12 weeks of seeing football, you kind of have an idea of like what teams are.
Look, I'm not. Everyone knows I'm an Alabama fan, and everyone knows that I'm a Miami fan. So, other teams from the SEC, I don't root for. But I don't know. I mean, for some reason, Georgia keeps sticking in my head. I think they actually get on a roll and they actually win this. That would be my prediction because I don't know. For some reason, they're just sticking in my head that I cannot believe that they haven't played up to their potential just yet, and they're still winning the games that they have to, beating the big teams. Obviously, they lost to Bama, but
And Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, who are both really good teams, and they're
we'll get to in a minute, by the way. Because freaking Florida just played spoiler 2 weeks in a row.
that was another thing.
How do you beat LSU and Ole Miss, but you can't do shit the rest of the season?
Yeah. So for me, I would probably go with Georgia. I don't see another team other than Ohio State that is very consistent.
Yeah.
Oregon, I don't believe in, and Penn State, I don't believe in. So I think it'll come down to Ohio State and Georgia this year, unless you get a dark horse coming in like a Miami, that comes in.
Even a Bama, because honestly, who do you trust to beat like Bama in the top 12? Like who could actually beat Bama?
Well,
in a playoff game?
Let's just wait to see if they get in. I mean, I don't think they'll get in, but
I don't think they're.
Obviously, I'll be rooting for them.
My championship before the season was Texas and Georgia.
Yep.
If it was possible.
Yeah.
Texas are not as good as I thought they would be. Quinn Ewers is not as great as I thought it would be.
Sorry, Gabe.
Coming off of last year's great season for Quinn, I did think that he would take the next step and be like a top quarterback prospect. But my God, this is one of the worst quarterback classes ever. We might just have Cam Ward and Shador. That's going to be even a reasonable starter. Yeah. But for now, that was going to be my Georgia and Ohio State.
Yeah.
If it's possible. Penn State, I hope, gets destroyed by 60 in the first game. Oregon, I hope, loses the Big Ten, so it might be like a 5 seed, a 6 seed, and get upset by a dark horse. But honestly, a really dark horse there is Tennessee. That's the real dark horse that no one really thinks about.
One's
but
really thinking,
they can beat Georgia on their day. They can beat Texas on their day. So that's the really dark horse there for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of these teams are very evenly matched.
Yes, there's no one clear team this year.
Yeah, there isn't one clear better team than the rest this year. Like
even a player, when you think of the Heisman Award.
Yeah, every week it changes, practically.
Not just that, but you think of like the quarterbacks or receivers of the top teams.
Yeah,
the Bamas, the Ohio States, the LSU's. But now we're getting running back from Boise State. We're getting Travis Hunter, who plays for Colorado. Good teams, but not top 5 teams like you would like the Heisman race a few years ago was Joe Burrow, Tua, Herbert.
Yeah.
Generational quarterbacks.
Yep.
So there's not like a clear team. But, next week we'll do our top 12 prediction.
Yeah, and so let me ask you this. So every Tuesday they come out at 8 o'clock?
At 7.
At 7. Mm-hmm. Okay, so maybe next week we hold off on doing college football until Wednesday.
Okay.
So that we can talk about it. We can do NFL on Tuesday. That way we have the most up to date information, and that gives us a better education guess as to who might continue through and who might stay back. But as of now, I think Bama stays home.
They should stay home. They don't deserve it.
Yeah.
But college football. It's gonna be another great week. So next Tuesday, we won't know the bowl winners yet.
No, sure.
But we'll know the bowl games.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be a good conversation.
Yep.
Because I predict it's going to be like Georgia and Texas, right? It should be Texas. And if it's a rematch, it's a neutral site, so there's no
there's
home
no
field.
home field.
And Texas need to go out for blood because they got embarrassed at home.
And they did.
In that game.
They did.
But yeah, I can't wait for it.
All right. Well, then I think that's it.
Yeah.
That's a wrap. Hey, guys, thanks for joining us. Subscribe to our channel. Make sure you also listen to us on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeart, and give us some follows and comment and let us know how we're doing. Thanks a lot, guys, for joining us. I'm Will.
I'm Will Jr.
And we are out.